So in Afghanistan, there's like this huge humanitarian crisis happening. Hospitals are running out of supplies ever since the war ended, and a lot of NGO workers left. The Afghans are really struggling because they don't have the resources or the supplies to, provide basic necessities. And it's looking really awful. Like the other day, I saw a report that around 55% of Afghans are in danger of extreme hunger. It's insane. It's, I don't know what to say. What do y'all think?
Yeah, so guys, apparently Afghanistan is a country which has seen violent transitions of power for decades, and after the current government came into power, the country has been starving. I believe the reason to this is the economic shrinkage, which has decreased by one third of its initial value. The
So
country
you're
has
saying that
lost
there's like an economic crisis happening
Yes, because the
Yeah,
country has lost all its reserves in foreign banks, predominantly in
in
the
Western
United
banks.
States. What?
Western
In
banks.
Western,
Yeah,
yeah,
in Western
and
banks.
moreover,
So,
after the current regime
yeah,
came into
so
power, most of their foreign reserves have been frozen.
Yeah,
so
they're
yeah,
having
so after this
sanctions
happened,
because
like
I
the
of
think
ability for the Afghan people to get access to money from banks has reduced, and like the country I would see as saying that the economic situation is has worsened after the current government came into power, and this has led to the increase in unemployment and lack of food in the country. The people are starving, and the improvements that they made in the past few decades in
have been
education,
undone.
healthcare, and agricultural growth has rolled back. So I am not seeing anything good happening after the
Mm.
recent transition of power. So yeah, guys, this was, I believe, a reason for what you've just mentioned.
You mean the main
also
reason that is?
Yeah, the
one of the
main reason, the economic
also
downfall.
one of the main reason was the U.S. Troops going away from the country because they brought in a lot of resources at many cases, maybe even foreign deals for Afghanistan. But
Yeah,
since
they
they
actually
left,
funded most projects.
exactly. So as you see, Kashaf Lakib, since this government came in at the beginning, there was a big human crisis, and there were a large number of migrations as well, as you all know, right?
Yeah, there was a refugee
Yeah, so
crisis and
because of
NGO
the
workers
chaotic
left.
environment, because of the chaotic environment, most of the shops they just closed themselves. কোনো দোকান খোলা ছিল না. And recently they are opening up, but the problem which has risen is the
Hmm.
prices of the products have increased by 10 to 20% or
That's
more.
means those have become even more rare. It's hard to,
Exactly. See,
get stuff in an unstable environment.
the resources are scarce, so is the money. So just balance. It's not, nothing is balancing out at this point in their country. That's one of the biggest reason that the people, like almost half of the population, goes to sleep without any food,
More
or
than
they're not.
half. More than
Yeah,
half.
more
I would
than half.
actually I would actually like to add to that. I think I was like reading this article like a couple of days ago. So
Hmm?
um, in last year of September, the the rate of like people being hungry every day was like already at a high of 72%.
Wait, 72%.
Yep.
So basic, more
Okay.
than half
Oh,
of the
damn.
population was hungry.
Yeah,
Like they didn't have food.
this was after the new government came into power and all. So what uh, the United Nations
Hmm?
have
Hmm?
seen through statistical data is that the whole food shortage percentage amongst the
Huh?
people will become 95% by the midst of this year.
Wait, what? So you're
Yeah,
what? Let's just get this right. What you're trying to say is that we're looking at mass starvation.
Yeah,
exactly.
which is also being which is getting worse and worse daily because of the drought that went by there.
Wait, there was a drought,
There was a
as
drought.
if things cannot get worse.
Yeah,
I heard
like
recently there was
bruh.
a fucking earthquake,
Yeah,
like a fucking earthquake.
yeah, like
Bro,
Nothing's going on for them.
also, bro, some organization are saying, Jay, if urgent action is not being taken place in Afghanistan, there will be a flood of anemic mothers and children who will be severely malnourished.
It's already happening.
It's already
And
happening.
you know how bad the condition is. People literally go to different restaurants and they be like, see, you have a lot of waste food, right? That people
Oh
didn't
yeah,
eat, or vegetables that you use, but so the leftovers are left. So give us
a lot
those
of
to
people
eat.
survive on those.
Exactly.
They have
People
to. They
are
have
Guys,
nothing else to
eating
survive
from the
on.
dustbin, and there are people you'll find eating from the dustbin. So it's that bad at this point.
They're
yeah,
surviving on dumpster trash. That's how
Entire
bad it
families
is.
are surviving on that.
yeah. So
In that country,
foreign
it's
aid is
not
not
like we
getting into the
can.
country.
Sorry, Afan, you
Foreign aid
continue.
is not getting into the country because most of the countries don't like the current government due to certain reasons, as we
Certain
know.
reasons,
So
let's be blunt, the
They
current
are fucking
government
bitches.
came forcefully and
don't have
naturally the
good
Westerners
foreign relations.
hate the Taliban. I mean, let's be honest. In the past 20 years, Afghanistan basically became dependent on Western money and Western
Yeah,
aid. And now that it's all gone, they're running out of money, and hospitals are running out of supplies, and they're looking at mass starvation.
And on top of that, we've seen a drought in the country too. So they're not producing food.
Yeah,
exactly.
So we
worst
Sakib,
need
you know,
possible timing.
Sakib, there was this article published which stated that almost where is it? Yeah, more than 8 million people are just one step away from from a very big famine. 3 million children who are under the age of 5 years only are expected to suffer from malnutrition, and more than 1 million children are expected to die because of hunger and starvation. That's how bad it is. See, it's not thousands, by the way; it's millions. It's happening in millions. So you can imagine how
Yeah,
bad the condition is.
yeah, and a country is normally defined to be aid dependent when foreign aid or financial aid from other countries makes up about 10% of the country's entire GDP. For Afghanistan, that figure is about 40%. So, like almost half of their entire income, their entire GDP, is based off of Western money. এখন কিছুই নেই. Literally, all of the foreign aid, most of it at least,
Everyone's
has been
bankrupt.
completely cut off
Western
because
countries do
nobody
not
wants.
recognize Afghanistan as a independent state
No,
now.
not Afghanistan, the current
The
government.
current government, yeah.
For example, they have a new Afghan flag. Most countries don't use that one yet. They use the old
Yeah,
one. Even the Afghan national cricket team, they use the old one, which represented like the old republic.
Speaking of the cricket team, they can't even play matches in their home ground. Nobody's going to go to Afghanistan
I
to
mean,
play
they never
matches.
could.
They play in
It's not
India, and
safe
they were playing in Qatar.
because it's
They
not
were
safe.
playing in Qatar the other day.
I
That's
mean, I mean nowadays they play in India.
yeah. India has
yeah,
given
but
them this ground, and they
There are
said that this is your home ground. You can host your the matches here, claiming this is your home ground. The countries are
yeah.
helping the cricket team.
Yeah, but
Also,
speaking of cricket, their cricket team might lose their status, like their official status, because the rule is in order to have full member status, they need to have a women's team.
yeah.
But
Also,
because
Oh yeah, they
women
do.
After
also
coming to
sports teams
women, guys.
to
are
that, I would
basically
like to add,
gone.
to that, I like that even during the T20 World Cup, they didn't get the financial aid. The players themselves had to support the team. One of the
Yeah,
cricketers had paid for all the flights, all the food, and
Mohammad
everything.
Nabi, right?
Yeah, Mohammad
Mohammad
Nabi,
Nabi, the captain, he
the captain.
sponsored the entire team out of his own pocket.
Acha, guys,
Yeah.
let's keep women's cricket alone and focus on healthcare. The Afghanistan is a country where women are not allowed to be treated by a male doctor, but it is also a country where women are not allowed to study to become one. And I think it's
Like the thing about that is that they're promising that by March of this year, girls and women in general can return to like their respective educational institutions. But they keep on delaying it, and is it gonna
bro. These
happen?
are
We do
just
not
fake
know.
promises, according to me.
Bruh, let me
These
say
are
something
fake
about it.
promises. So like,
They're just being
Yeah, Kashyap.
hypocritical.
I
They're
don't
just
think they're going to do anything about it.
Yes, Kashyap.
they're just gonna be hypocritical about it. So whether they do it or not, it doesn't matter to them because either ways they're just gonna be the ones benefiting it because they believe in that shit, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
A
and
country can never improve without like contribution of women, and
yeah,
Afghanistan is struggling because of an economic downfall, and it's also not allowing its women to help them out of this economic
yeah,
situation.
it's like half
So
of
I
their
don't
labor
see
force.
any good happening here unless serious measures are taken, which the government
Exactly.
isn't taking. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Now, but now a lot of different countries are trying to raise funds to help the people. But the question over here is, even if they're raising the funds, will the people actually get it, or will they be able to successfully
You
provide the
mean
people with the food?
you're implying corruption. I mean,
I'm not
Afghanistan
implying
is the most
corruption.
corrupt country in the world.
Okay, I didn't want to be that
They're
direct, but
even more corrupt than us.
okay, cut that part.
Holy
Guys,
shit, that's one way to call
No, no, no,
everyone out.
no.
okay, okay,
Bro,
Jamil.
we're not.
Obviously,
Bhai,
our
keep that
Pakistan
in.
will call out me money.
That's facts. That
That's
is
facts.
facts. We are keeping that in.
They're literally the most corrupt country in the world, and there's widespread corruption amongst the government workers, even the army. And if we give them money, is it really gonna go to the common person? More likely, it's just going to go to the pockets of government officials or the army members
Yeah,
or
because
even
they're
weapons.
because they're gonna be in charge. They're gonna be most of the time. They're gonna be the people who are actually receiving it, and they're gonna be the people who are supposed to be distributing it.
Yeah, that's the
And it's
Exactly.
only going to be it's only going to be distributed across their bank accounts.
even
Okay,
worse. What if
guys,
it's not
guys.
distributed across their bank accounts? What if it's used for financing their military? That would be even worse.
Acha,
Yeah,
Bruh,
I
they
guess the
already
regime is
have a
yeah,
succeeding.
military basis.
Yeah,
Acha, so
and
this so-called regime has helped the current government to come into power, and they're super hungry because they've not been satisfied well enough because the government didn't have those riches to satisfy their soldiers. So now when they have
but
power, the
now they have
soldiers
money.
will be demanding money. So
Now
yeah,
they're basically
the
swimming
government
in
will
it.
supply them with that.
You guys know how like what happens when you leave a kid in charge all alone in the house?
Home Alone
No, I'm
one,
not.
two,
I'm not
three.
specifying Home Alone because that kid was smart. I'm talking about like a dumbass.
Unlike you.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
Shit goes
What
haywire.
happens? What happens?
I shaved my eyebrows. I nearly burnt myself while cooking Maggie. So
Uh,
yeah,
no comments.
After keeping jokes aside, if the situation doesn't improve, the country is gonna consume itself.
basically what
It
I
is
wanted to say
consuming
is that
itself.
basically what I say is
Bro,
that is do let's not let kids do adults work. Let the actual people who know how to do their shit do it. Because at least the government, the last government, at least held their shit up together to a certain degree. I think. Although
bro,
there were
at
bitches
that
for
point,
Americans.
Afghanistan was on almost their peak. We could say that because they were earning, they had
Yeah.
a lot of foreign exchange, that revenue.
Yes.
You know, you
You know
know
what?
what's
Kashyap's right because I don't think the leader even knows how to spell Afghanistan in English. And it's
Not like
yeah.
I doubt whether he can spell Afghanistan in Farsi. And and one other thing is that people assume that after the war ended, that things would get better, and then everything will become better. People can work, and everyone's gonna get richer. But although in a lot of areas security has improved, terrorist attacks are still there. Like I think we're ignoring the Islamic State of Khorasan province. They have been carrying out a lot of deadly attacks, which the government
yeah,
cannot stop.
yeah, and
Uh,
a lot of them are taking refuge in neighboring countries, and some particular countries haven't been doing anything about it.
Yeah, so we're ignoring like the women's rights part. The All
And
women's
and
rights are
yeah,
basically a joke in Afghanistan, just human rights in general.
it's like they don't exist. Yeah, that is
bro,
true. Human
I,
rights, them.
let me just clear things out. According to the current government, there is no such thing as women rights.
okay. Again,
It's
kids analogy.
yeah.
Remember how we used to be like, ew, girls, cooties. Back in like first grade.
Bro, do you
I thought
This
girls
guys
said
next
that
guys
when they
level,
do
saw you.
bro. This next level.
Oh,
Girls said that when they
did
saw
you
you.
Nihal, tu chup tak. Guys, do you know that rape in Afghanistan it's frequently treated the same as consensual adultery, which is illegal. And the thing is, when women are raped and when it's reported, it's the women themselves who are seen as the perpetrators,
And
and
they
they're
get
the ones who
punished
get jailed
publicly.
Basically, they're treated as
publicly.
property.
Yeah, they get flogged.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically what happened was this one woman was caught like cheating on her husband with another man.
And she was
So although
flogged.
this is not rape, she was flogged what 100 times in public, and the man was given 10 lashes, and then
Wait, what? That's not fair.
What is
That's not
flopped?
fair. Like, look, guys, the thing you have to realize about Afghan society is that most people aren't like most of their population cannot read or write, and most of their population cannot read and write in their own native language, much less Arabic. So their definition of Islam is whatever the mullahs say. Is their definition of
it's
And
Islam.
whatever
we
is
here in
passed down
Bangladesh
from the
know it for
generations
really good.
before.
Like we in
Yeah, it's
Bangladesh
just a
know really
culture.
well what happens.
See the no, see the problem over here is, we cannot learn a language on our own. It's someone who will guide us through it. So if the guide is misguiding us, we can't do anything. We will be misguided, and that's what is happening over there.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
Exactly.
I have a
There,
question.
most
The
of these
current
people are
government
just
is defaming the religion itself.
Exactly.
So
For example, if I take Tanzim to ধানমন্ডি and I tell him, দোস্ত তুই এখানে এখন তুই প্রীতম বাগারে যা, unless I গাড়ি মতো জীবনে পারবে না।
lol.
bro, I mean,
Google Maps.
what the Taliban, like what they're presenting as Islam, is basically their own cultural ideals and their own cultural beliefs. Let's be honest.
Bruh, it's just that
which is
they
complete, which
they
is
just
messed up.
they follow Islam but in their own mindset of rules.
Yeah, the
I
reason is that
condemn
a
the
lot
Yeah,
of
it's
Islamic works are open to their own personal interpretation, and they change it according to their needs.
Okay, which also
Basically,
brings
they
me to
do a
this.
personalized version of Sharia, according to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah, so
say
Kashyap,
this
you
one
were
thing.
about to say something.
I'm gonna say something. So we know that Afghanistan is not the most brightest country, right? It hasn't like it didn't get much funding for education for a long time, but up
Yeah.
until the last government, like the current government, education was actually pretty high. Like that's when the country was at
Yeah.
its peak. Everything was high. People were sending their
Exactly.
children to education. People
Yeah.
were going for higher
As I
education.
mentioned, the situation is back to square one because of the current government.
Wait,
Yeah, and I
people
would just like
like
to add to Kashyap's point.
yeah.
Acha,
So
sorry, cut that out.
there
Go
was
on. Tu
there
shesh
was
kor.
no gender inequality. Both sides got it. Okay, girls might have not gotten because like there's some prejudice for it, but that
Because
could
of
be
cultural
ignored.
reasons.
Yeah, cultural
But
reasons.
officially, they were equal.
Yeah,
Let-
officially
let-
equal.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
simple words, if it was like everyone was in peace and everyone was happy.
Yeah,
In simple
everyone
words,
got to do
everyone was
whatever
Yeah.
whatever was needed to survive.
But obviously there were problems that it always
Yeah,
going to
obviously.
exist, but like
There
it
was
was
still a
much better.
war.
Or it was much
See, no
better than it
country
is
in
now.
the world is perfect. No country in the world is perfect. Even no, not even us.
Afghanistan
No
is
other country.
absolutely
But
not
even
perfect, but
then,
it was improving.
guys, they had legal rights.
And they had a good situation.
Like they
Not
had a
good, I would
prop.
say very good
They
situation.
had like a proper society, is what I
Yeah.
want to say.
Yeah.
And
A
now it's
proper
like
structured
they're being-
society.
and now they're being promised rights based on Sharia.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember the Catholic movement through all Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it's basically
in
that.
Notre Dame, যখন ইয়ে
No,
করছে?
no, 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 no. Like a whole Catholic movement during Europe.
Basically, I mean, he in short, he's talking about the Dark Ages when the Christian Church twisted
That's
Christianity,
yeah.
twisted Christianity to just fulfill their own needs, make themselves red.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Kashyap went
Vatican.
that far back in history.
Also,
Talking about the
one
Vatican.
thing.
Yeah, but
Also, one thing.
now I get it now.
We're missing one thing, and I constantly see this on the news, is that children are being sold.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
And
yeah.
a lot of the time, those are little girls, like um, 11, 12, and they're being sold to like these 40, 50-year-olds who promise that they're not gonna do anything until she matures. And let's be honest, dude's a pedophile.
Maturing age is 12.
Brother, maturing age is
Okay.
9.
Guys, these kids, the thing you have to consider is that a lot of Afghan families, especially poorer families who cannot afford birth control and stuff, they have like 5, 7 kids. And selling off one
Yeah.
kid in order to feed the other kids seems like a good
It's
idea.
Mane, this new government is like, bringing every other evil act back. Like, what can you expect from this
Under the
government?
name of
it's
Sharia.
it,
Yeah, they're
it's a,
defaming
it's
the religion. I'm mentioning
yeah,
this a
it's
million
like
times.
it's like the medieval ages all over again.
Yeah, it's like
Bro,
the
I'm
6th
like kind of
century.
feeling awkward to go to some Christian country or a non-Muslim country because I might be stared at like for being a Muslim now. Like, because people are hearing
Yeah,
about
I
They're gonna
mean
look at
it
you in
it
a
does
different
happen.
way. They're gonna be like, whoa, he seems like a nice person. How can he be Muslim?
Okay,
And that's what is
actually,
also
Yeah.
happening
Bro,
nowadays.
I
that's
will
racist.
answer to that because I'm very active on Discord and I meet a lot of foreign people on there. And there's one particular meeting with a person, I will not name him because copyright reasons.
Yeah. Copy.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Same.
I said,
Like,
go on, go on.
like I'm like talking to him. It's like we're just randomly chatting and all. Like we were on like a
Yeah.
voice chat and all. Basically, he's like talking. We're like introducing each other because it's like a very big chat, and we are talking about books and all. So he's like, "Hey, what religion are you?"
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
like, I'm a Muslim." And then he's like, "Hold on, are you gonna be like preaching me and like forcing me into a religion or something so that I can go bomb another
Wait, hold
building?"
Oh
on.
my
What?
god.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dude, was that
Which country
sarcasm
was
or
he from?
something?"
Which religion was he from?
He's Christian, but
So
like
he just
Well, of
hashtagged
course,
you as a
he's a
rat,
Western
bro.
dude.
he's a Western
Like
dude.
he thought
So
you were a rabbit.
Bro, you.
yeah, he thought I was Arabic, but
Yeah.
from talk like I was like, dude, was that sarcasm or like something? It's like, nah, like legit, are you
He
doing
just
like nah, fam? I'm
assumed
not
that you
doing
were a
anything like that.
fundamentalist.
Bro, simple. The simple. I mean, সোজা ভাষা যদি বলি, it's like the flag bearers of Islam, the so-called flag bearers are presenting the religion in such a bad light that even the actual religion gets hidden. This is not Islam. Killing people without any
I'm
reason,
there. I'm.
sacrificing women, selling them. That's
Young
happening.
women
That's not Islam.
is
That's not
not
Islam.
Islam.
Islam is the religion of peace. It's
Humble.
stated everywhere.
That's a
Man.
pedophile's wet dream.
Yeah, it's just a justification to
Kashaf.
be a pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kashav is not necessarily wrong. The government, most of it, are like pedophiles. Like
Because women aren't getting education, they're gonna just get married off at a really early age.
and the country is never going to progress because women are
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
being.
and that brings me to a point that I've been wanting to say for a while. The proportion of girls age 10 who go to school is 60%, and then by the time they reach the age of 15, it becomes half, 30%.
They're
By
married
their
off.
like
They
within
married off.
yeah. Yeah, they're married off within this age. Between 10 to 15, they're married off, and once they're married, their chances of getting an education is just, gone.
Gone.
Almost zero.
It doesn't
We
exist
must
anymore.
take
Obviously,
this into
their husband is not
consideration
gonna
that the
allow it.
Afghan society has always been patriarchal, and under the current government, this has escalated. So, yeah, the women are suffering.
Also, other than the women, can we talk about the minorities?
Oh, the
Yeah,
minorities.
if we get into
For
Oh,
the
example,
we are
minorities,
on to
we
something.
have to
most
mention the Shias.
the Shia
So,
Hazaras, to be exact.
yeah,
That
they're being
Yeah.
the thing,
for being Shias.
yeah, and the thing about the Hazaras is that they aren't native to the region. They're the descendants of Turco-Mongol invaders, and they
Basically,
came to
Genghis Khan, guys, if you
Afghanistan.
don't know Mongol.
Yeah, they came to Afghanistan and they adopted Persian culture and also Shia Islam. And the thing is, they're being attacked, and a lot of terrorist attacks specifically happen against them. They're discriminated against just because they're Hazara. There was actually a book about this. I think everyone has read it, or at least
I think it's the Kite Runner.
yeah, the Kite
Oh yeah, the
Runner.
Kite Runner.
Oh yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah,
I've
I never
read
read it.
it. I've read it. I watched the movie. It's an amazing book.
same.
And guys, if you don't know, a movie is coming out as well. Has come out, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so guys,
yeah,
if you want a book
really good
suggestion where
movie.
you want happiness and a happy ending, a lot of sadness in throughout the whole story, and a lot of heartbreaks, then this is a book I will suggest. The Kite Runner.
And that's the thing, it accurately portrayed Afghanistan. And honestly, this also reminds me of like another book by the same author, um, A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is about the story of two women in Afghanistan. And in that story, there's a girl, Leila. Her dad is a teacher during like the communist era. And she gets an education and she's taught that men and women are equal. But during like the war, the during the war, her entire family gets murdered, and in order to survive, she's forced to marry this older man. And they, and from her perspective, we actually get an idea of what the first Taliban era was like.
And but in September, when the US troops were leaving, and they even signed a peace treaty, which obviously we can see how peaceful it is. No comments after that.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
withdrawal.
You
peace
know,
and the
okay,
Taliban
okay,
The
can
okay.
get
withdrawal
Let
was so sudden. It was just out of nowhere. Like
Yeah,
I woke up one day, I checked my phone, I'm like, wait, US troops are gone? Like
yeah,
how? It just happened overnight. They
okay,
left
guys.
most of their
and
supplies, most of their stuff in Afghanistan, and all of the military assets, like all of their, equipment and stuff. Terrorists and a lot of other, people, the Taliban, they scrambled to salvage them for their own use.
Bro, the
And
situation
it
got
was
so bad that when US aeroplanes were leaving along with supplies and soldiers, people
oh
were
my
clinging
god,
on to
yeah.
the. So
Bro,
Pe-
we can
literally
imagine
people were dropping from the flight. They were hiding
I
in
saw
the
footage of that.
knowing the
yeah,
risk
I
and
saw
of
exactly.
death.
footage of
Okay,
that.
okay,
they would
guys.
be persecuted under the new government
Okay,
after they're
guys.
taking
Yeah,
over
and they would
from.
Let
rather
me say
fall to their
something.
death.
Let me say something.
Yeah,
The fact that
Yeah.
thousands of people thought that dying from falling off a moving airplane going at really high speeds was better than being under a government from
Like
a
that.
whole new era.
That
That
theory explains a lot of things.
like that whole idea of the people going through all that just to die in the end.
That that
Like
paints a picture, that
think of
paints,
how shit the
yeah.
situation is in their country that dying is the best option they have rather than living.
and like
Exactly.
if they had stayed behind, they would have been dead.
Either ways,
And they
they're
would
dead.
rather,
They will
they don't
rot to
want to
death.
die at the hands of those
Yeah.
Animals.
they don't want to die at the hands of those thugs.
But
I
they're
want
not
to say
even thugs.
something,
They're just worse than animals. Fucking demons.
bro.
Yeah,
At a
Nihal
generation,
is dying to speak.
no, not like out of context. So did you see the videos of the Taliban's in the gym? Oh my god, that's so hilarious. भाई तारपर आता भाई
नाचते सी
प्रेसिडेंट
लोरा.
भाई प्रेसिडेंट ने चेहरे के हवा मतलब boom 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 they were
Oh, did you see the
dancing
one
everything.
in
Oh
the
my
amusement
god.
park?
Yeah.
Like in the
Hey
amusement park,
guys,
they're in like
I hope you guys are
merry-go-rounds
wondering
together with the
Yeah.
what
Kalashnikovs.
Hi.
Oh my god.
Hey, can you
Yeah,
imagine
like
that this is the government of Afghanistan? Like,
Okay, so as Nihal stated that they also signed like a peace treaty, right? You know what they
Yep.
did to the peace treaty?
What?
They shouted
burned
up
it.
ass.
No.
Burned it.
Think this is the peace treaty. Kobe. You know what's fun
Also,
about it? They're both dead.
one thing about the
I think the
saw
US
that coming.
negotiations is
after
that
sitting.
Is that I never got the point. Like what happened was, Donald Trump, he was trying to end the war before the elections, and he rushed it without getting any concessions. He released thousands of Taliban prisoners.
Yeah,
And
Why?
also, and
Eh?
also
Because he was
let's
very
not forget the Afghan government that came before. They are to blame. The Afghan military, they were underpaid. They hadn't received their supplies in weeks, and a lot of them just left. They didn't even bother. Like they could have won if they fought, and that was the prediction that they would fight.
Aksha, we must
A lot of
consider the
them
fact
didn't.
that the
They just left.
Afghan
so
military
first
was
of all, a
being.
large part of the Afghan military was because of the US troops. So a lot of them even
Yeah,
went
when the
with them.
US left, it demotivated them to an extent that they left the battlefield and encouraged the Taliban to, like, go for Kabul. And they executed the siege of Kabul, eventually taking over.
Yeah, let's also not forget their own president leaving. If he had stayed,
Exactly.
they could have come to like some kind of coalition government or come to an agreement. But he left, and that probably made it worse.
After the Taliban took over, they beheaded all the previous government officials who were still there. So I think the president had premeditated this and he left with all
Yeah.
his money, of
On,
course.
on the other hand, the previous president, the one who came before him, Hamid Karzai, he stayed behind with his family to negotiate the takeover, and him and a lot his minute and the cabinet, they negotiated a peaceful takeover, relatively peaceful takeover, and prevented a lot of people from dying.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
surprised that the Taliban did not behead them. I never thought they knew the meaning of peace. So it's like.
Bro, when the governor of Afghanistan's main reserve bank, which is the Afghanistan Bank, DAB, he fled the very day that the Taliban took over. He fled that very day. So like you can tell like ওদের ব্যাংকের গভর্নরই নাই কি হবে ওদের দেশে
Yeah.
Bro, see,
গভর্নর
everything they premeditated how bad it's gonna get. So all the high officials they fled. No other option.
Because they know that they're gonna be
yeah
used as pawns.
I mean
Yeah.
there's nothing they can do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
because
would just
there is someone
The
higher
government
above them
lost
right
everything.
now.
Yeah.
guys, we have talked a lot about what's wrong with this country. How do we fix it? How do we help them? How do we at least bring some order and stability into that mess of a country?
Yeah.
First
So
thing is
I would
foreign aid receiving the country. Without that, I don't see any improvements happening into the economy and like to
They're
overcome the
actually, and the
state
fun
of the
fact is that they're actually in negotiations in Oslo where they're talking about unfreezing the national reserves and working on women's rights and human rights.
Yeah, I'm having a
And
bad
hopefully
feeling
we can,
about this already.
and hopefully we can actually come to like an agreement.
Sakipur,
That
Yeah.
I like the way you're thinking, but we should start from the ground below. Like
hmm?
we're going a bit
like
up.
from ground zero in
We should
Afghanistan
start from
itself.
ground zero.
Yeah.
First issue, hunger. Second issue is the economy
Money.
itself. So money.
Yeah, economy.
Third
Yeah.
issue,
Employment.
humanitarian crisis. We fix food. We fix food shortages. Economy rises. As economy rises, people get a bit more smarter with whatever they're doing, and they're not very. They don't get desperate with their decisions anymore. Okay, because they have their shit backed up at that point. At a certain point.
Yeah,
Third,
at that point.
humanitarian crisis could be taken into consideration, and then the actions for women rights could be taken. Because
Question.
if you avoid food shortages, okay,
Amboli.
Okay,
it's
can I start with the food shortage if you don't mind?
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
go for
What
it.
do you suggest?
Enlighten
Okay,
us.
so there's this organization, Islamic Relief Organization in UK. What they're doing is they're taking funds from the people in the UK to have Afghanistan. So they have three packages: a £50 donation which can provide hygiene and water storage kits for a displaced family, a £100 one which is a food pack for a displaced family, and £550 one which provides a family with an emergency shelter. So that's how they're taking the money and then they're trying to help the people in these ways. So small steps are being taken, yet they're taking it. So maybe in the next few months we will see improvement. We
Yeah,
hope so,
big fun
inshallah.
charities.
NGOs
Should
in
and
general.
moreover, there are also a number of NGOs to help the refugees. Like for example, I would like to name a couple, like the Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, Homes Not Borders, the Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service itself. It's enlisting volunteers in all four regions. To assist with things like picking people up at the airport, setting up apartments, providing meals. So, like, and you can volunteer and donate, and there are a number of links as well. Like, if you just Google how to help Afghanistan. There's going to be a full list of
Honest, right.
charities and places you can donate.
I mean, all of you guys have um, a really nice view of the
So I
situation,
want to say
but
something at the end. The government at this point, they claim that they're helping and Muslim and all that stuff. All I want to say is Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, whoever relieves a Muslim of a burden from the burdens of the world, Allah will relieve him Allah will relieve him of a burden from the day of judgment. So are they actually Muslims the ones who are causing all the chaos? So how come they don't know about this? Can't they see all the burden on the people? People have
also,
fathers have the burden that they cannot feed their children,
hmm,
even a 1 day meal. So can't they help really? And then they're Muslims? I don't think.
you guys have a really good view of the situation and have great ideas, but the thing is, NGOs aren't enough. The government needs to take action, and
There is no NGO left over there. That's the
yeah,
problem. That's
and
one of
they're
the biggest
leaving.
problems.
Most of them were Western, and they left when the Americans left, and
No, there
that's
are a couple of Kabul-based organizations, but like
they
that's
aren't
not
enough.
going to be enough.
And the
Obviously,
UN
they're not going to be enough.
and the UN has constantly said that foreign aid is the key, and that foreign aid needs to get back into into that country
Shakib,
in order to
I believe that the government itself has to come up with a solution by
naturally.
negotiating terms with countries willing to help them, and they should act fast because the situation is worsening, and
Yeah,
laughing about
I
it won't
mean,
change
guys,
the fact that the country is starving.
I mean, I
I,
might sound
actually,
optimistic, but
yeah.
all radical militias, when they come into government, they become more moderate. They start to soften their views down, and best case scenario that happens in Afghanistan,
We
and
hope for that.
and only
We
they have
can
only
hope for
recently
that,
come
but
to
I don't know how
government.
likely that is, to be honest.
I mean,
Like,
The
I'm just,
government
I'm
knows
sorry,
that
I
this
don't mean to. Like, I
is
appreciate the optimism, and I do hope myself that things get better there. But like, I don't know if I don't know how long it's gonna be till that really happens. But like
That
for
is
Okay,
now,
guys.
what we can
yes.
do,
Just
now
like,
even now what we need is the Afghan government to step up, and the government officials to provide basic necessities to improve the economy. And if the economy improves, and women are and education begins again, and the food crisis is settled, we can work on developing Afghanistan, and theoretically they can improve.
Okay, guys.
before working on
So
yeah,
developing
exactly.
Afghanistan, we need to take it out of this shit, or like get to a normal
guys,
situation first and then think about
I
development
think you guys
because the
forgotten about the
country is
drought.
dying.
What?
I think you guys
okay.
forgotten
Forgot
about the
about
drought.
the.
The
What?
drought.
The drought.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
which
drought.
will
drought.
cause food
and that's
productions to
where
drop.
that's where and that's where foreign aid comes in.
Yeah,
They
help
need
with
money.
cultivation.
Yeah, like the food, we need to give them food, even if a lot of it gets stolen by the government or by corrupt officials. We need to offer food aid, food supplies, grain, I don't know, basic food, and that's key. And if we can provide that, we can prevent mass starvation.
Acha, so the current government should come into negotiations with the World Food Program and to make sure that the country receives food in the form of aid so that we can help the Afghan people get over starvation. And overcome the drought as well, like by funding them to like promote agricultural growth and
Yeah,
uh, produce more crops, because the situation is getting out of hand. And
it
I'm
has
mentioning it a
gotten out of
thousand times,
hand.
that the country is starving and consuming itself. Like, before getting into the details about other uh, problems, let's focus on the starvation issue, because it's the primary problem. It's the beginning of all problems. So yeah, a lot of things need to be done, and it has to start from the government.
Yeah, it has to
Foreign
start from.
organizations can only help up to a level, but until and unless the government stops bluffing and take serious actions, the situation won't change.
And
Okay.
even if they need to be more efficient. I believe they are obviously trying to solve the situation. Of course they would, but they need to be
Because
more
they know
efficient,
that the
and
situation is consuming them too.
they need to figure their shit out and be effective.
Yeah, exactly. And
There's their time when the entire country needs them.
So I
এখন
think
যদি
even
যদি এভাবে
before
কন্টিনিউ
getting their shit fixed, they should, go for foreign help at first, because drought is there. There's not food. There's no medical amenities. There's no medical help. They need to fix that first. That then, thinking, "Ja, I'm gonna rule in this. I'm gonna rule in that way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make this
and
point."
Western
So
banks need to unfreeze their accounts as soon as possible, because like ওদের foreign reserve account যদি freeze হয়ে থাকে তাহলে কেমনে aid পাবে?
yeah,
that's why the
obviously.
UN needs to play a role. I think that's
Okay,
why the
okay,
UN
okay,
needs to
okay,
play a
okay,
role.
guys.
Wait, guys. One thing I would
The
like to
UN
say
needs to
is
come in.
that um, these funds, they could be used against countries like ours, and that's the main problem. It could get into the hands of terrorists, and neighboring
That's an
countries like
important point.
Pakistan, India,
That-
Bangladesh, we would suffer.
We should not forget that Afghanistan has become an epicenter for terrorism too. So, like,
Epicenter, it's the global hotspot for terrorism.
I'm going to talk about the solutions of food shortages in like a very blunt sense. First, government needs to be open minded for once. Second, for now, help the general people in need with emergency food supplies and medication. Third, help people in their agriculture and at least fund them enough that they could have reserve supplies left back whenever the next drought comes, because it's an arid country. It will go through
Wait,
it once in a while.
Akash, up to that.
Fourth, don't steal the supplies.
Fourth,
Yeah,
make sure that dumb
definitely not
fucks,
steal
dumb
the
fucks with
supplies.
beards in their ball sacks don't steal it.
What
Oh
what
man.
Nashab meant is that they claim to be pure Islamic. They need to show it, and they shouldn't steal it. And another thing
But
is that foreign aid, we need to step up in the Department of Food Aid. They need to successfully negotiate terms, and they have, in order for that to happen, they have to uh, agree that they won't attack other countries, that people from, and they will work against um, radical elements, and that also they will also offer human rights, women rights, and protect minorities. One thing that people forget is that Af- Afghanistan doesn't have a straight up majority in terms of race.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
it's a
and
diverse country
it
with
is very
perspectives
diverse.
making
It's
up the
really
country.
diverse. So there's no
yeah,
majority
it's
minority.
really
It's equally
diverse.
divided, mostly.
Yeah, and that's another problem. Some races get discriminated against. The whole structure is Pashtun heavy.
Acha,
Yeah,
guys, if you don't know,
exactly.
my ancestral home was in Afghanistan, and my ancestors were like Hazaras too, like Mongol descent. So that is why I have
You're
Chinese names,
Indian?
like yeah, Sakib.
Caucasian mother chodes.
Bro, I literally heard Nia said calculation mother truths.
Caucasian.
It's Caucasian.
Uh,
আমি ক্যালকুলেশন বাঙালি মানুষ
calculation,
কলকাতা থেকে আলাদা
fornication, whatever.
That's why I personally feel really bad for the Hazaras specifically, because yeah, you know why.
A lot of them have also left. If you see the refugees who are in Europe, a lot of them are Hazaras. Actually, they have to be.
Basically, the
They're
country
Shia.
is suffering from each and every problem that a country can suffer from. Like,
Yeah, and the
Exactly.
Hazaras are the victims because they're Shia in a Sunni theocracy. For those who don't know, Sunnis and Shias, they're the main
They're
denomination
the main
in
two
Islam.
sects of Islam.
Yeah, different
SECTS.
sects of
In
Islam.
case you hear something else.
I saw
Come
that
on.
coming.
I have to go.
What about economy? How will we raise the economy to its past
Uh,
former glory?
See,
Look,
at this point, I believe raising the economy can actually be a curse rather than a help because there are high chances of attacking other lands. I'm not saying it will happen, but there's a chance. Even if it's
I
slight,
know a lot of people
just
would
send them food, not
agree
money.
that it's
you know,
likely to
you know
happen. Terrorists can
what's
get.
my biggest fear, Sakib,
Hmm?
is that if foreign internationals or governments or NGOs donate money, for example, for food, it
Hmm?
might happen the government uses it for attacking other lands. So I want
They
to ask the
could.
government
They will be increasing
exactly right,
weapons and number of troops.
exactly. So
Basically, আমাদের
my question to them is like, how are you gonna rule even if you don't have people living in your country? সব তো
ভাই
মরেই যাবে।
দেশই নেই কি দেশ রুল করবি দেশই তো নেই
মানুষই তো
there's
নাই।
no country
See,
there's no
It's gonna
people
be
there's
like
no
Krypton,
democracy.
guys. It's gonna be like Krypton.
a country does not stay on because of the land it has. It stays on because of the people in it. So if
The
there is
people
no
are
people,
leaving.
how are you a country?
Yeah,
Okay,
the government should
Nihal.
understand that if they don't make changes, they will be rulers of nothing.
Okay,
So
Nihal. I understand where you're coming from. And yes, a lot of countries are considering like whether they should or should not do it. Because it is a matter of concern that, okay, I will be helping this dude, but will he backstab me when I turn my back to him? That is always an issue with with countries to countries, because it happens all the time.
This is more extreme. In this case, the
It is a
general
very
population is under threat because there could be terrorist attacks in any city. Look at
not
Pakistan.
only the general population,
Pakistani
Saqib, the entirety
Taliban.
of South Asia is under threat.
Yeah, Pakistani
okay.
Taliban has intensified.
It is a concern that other countries will be cautious about sending money over to the country. But what if we like? Here's my other take. We're not sending them money, and they're still living like shit. How is that helping? Like,
At least let's try. Yeah, at least let's try.
Also, one thing, theoretically, if we give them aid, they would be dependent on foreign money, and that would be a sort of security against future attacks. They aren't going to attack the country that's giving them money.
let's think of this. Patalam, other countries get ruined. এখন পাঠাবো না. Their own people are gonna starve to death, and either ways, we're gonna be guilty for it, right?
Bro, rather than money, they can simply send the food.
এখন এই জায়গায় আমি আসতেছি, কতক্ষণ খাবার পাঠাবি, কতক্ষণ একজনকে
আচ্ছা, okay.
খাওয়াবি?
Okay, don't do the food. Let's do it in this way. Let us send them the fertilizers, the water supply, whatever they need for 1 year, and then they grow from it.
Yes,
And
আমি
even if
এটাই চাচ্ছি। আমরা ওকে ডিপেন্ডেন্ট
also-
করাবো না, কিন্তু ওদের নিজেকে ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্সি দেওয়ানোর জন্য জায়গা দিতে হবে।
and
So
also
when
if
it
the
comes
money
to
you're
funds or something, করতে হবে।
And I
What
feel
about
like even if the
international trade, guys? Theoretically, in order for the economy to improve, they need international trade.
Bro, I
As
think
we all
at
know,
this
Afghanistan doesn't have a seaport. It's dependent on Pakistan for like a.
but I think at this point, even more than economy, they need to fix the medical and the food supply shortage thing. The economy
They're
will come in
dependent on
later.
aid.
এরা বলতেছি
Yeah.
প্রথমে খাবার দাবার, মেডিকেল
Exactly.
এসেনশিয়ালস যা লাগবে সব
Yeah.
পাঠাবে,
Essentials, yeah.
পরে
And
আস্তে ধীরে
also I
কমাতে
feel
কমাতে যখন ওরা আরো ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হওয়া শুরু করবে, তখন আমরা কমায় দিয়ে দিব।
exactly.
At that point, they wouldn't need it. They would
Exactly.
have enough food to sustain themselves.
We are not funding them with weaponry. We are not funding them with any other bullshit. We will be funding them with the bare necessities that they need to survive for now.
Yeah, which
After
is
after a
direly
certain
needed.
point, we won't be able to supply it, because we will then know that the government is basically just milking us for their own benefit.
Just stealing it.
Yeah. As I said in my fourth
What about-
point,
What about human rights? There's aid, it should have strings attached. We have to make them promise that if we are going to give them aid, they need to allow women to go to schools. They need to protect the minorities. That's what we are negotiating right now in Norway, in Oslo.
Okay, when
Steps
Neil
are
said,
being taken, but it's slow. And I think improvement will come within time. It just needs some time at this point. So
We are being
patience is a very
optimistic.
important thing.
We are being
What?
optimistic.
I have to be.
we
There's
have
So
to
no
be
when
point
you're
of any
optimistic because
optimistic,
interruption.
so when
because
you're
we are just,
optimistic,
bruh, we have to be optimistic because we're just 19-year-olds studying in our first year,
I'm 21.
first, okay,
20,
21,
Honestly,
20,
the pessimist in
17.
me doesn't believe what we are talking about.
Okay, so
See, bhai, the thing is, see, despite the fact me and Kashav are being optimistic, deep down we know the situation is not going to improve anytime soon. So, just having a bit of, hope যে হয়তো ঠিক হবে, but we know Allah জানে কি হবে, Allah ভালো জানে, and we hope that it gets better. That's what we can all do.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly,
at the
all of
moment,
us
we can
love
just hope.
Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Their culture is beautiful. The people there are really nice,
they have
and
I
very
actually
rich
like their food.
history.
yeah, their food is really good. For example, tandoori chicken naan that came from Afghanistan.
oh,
It came from the
yeah,
Middle
but
East.
in general, the Afghan people are
Afghanistan,
hospitable.
it's Persian, and in Bengal had Afghan kings, so it was first
So,
in
It
Iran,
kind of
then
makes sense.
Afghanistan, then Bangladesh.
see, there was a very famous line in this movie. I forgot the movie name, which where the actor said that without food we may survive 4 weeks, without water maybe 4 days, and without air maybe for 4 seconds. But
Seconds.
without hope, we can't even survive 4 milliseconds. So it just hope is a thing that we need to have in life. Even at this point, I feel in life hoping is nothing but bullshit because how life has turned out. So yeah.
Okay, so as Neil stated about hope and all, let me give this simple scenario that was done on rats to show you how hope can drive people to do better.
Hmm?
So this experiment was done on rats of how long can they stay afloat while or swim in a body of water. So they just took a rat, put it in water, and then let it swim for as long as it could until it started sinking. Okay, so the scientists saw that, okay, the rat stayed at least for 15 minutes. Okay,
Then
so it started sinking, so they took it out of the water and put it on a table to rest. So after it was done resting for a bit, they then put it back into the water. This was only like a 5-minute rest, okay? Mind if I tell you?
hmm?
The rats stayed on the water for 60 hours.
What?
Non-stop.
Yeah, because they had the hope they will be saved after some
Yes,
time.
they had the hope that, okay, at least
Because
let me
he knew that
survive because someone will pick me up and then put me on a
oh,
table to rest again. They had the hope. Even a simple-minded creature as a rat has hope in them. So we should try to give the Afghan people more hope so they can at least go through all this hardship and maybe even come out of it.
Yeah.
I sound way
okay,
too optimistic, but deep down I feel like, okay,
we need to be.
this country is gonna go
If we
to
are
deep
Yeah,
down, deep dark. But
if we aren't
yeah,
optimistic, what we're looking at is mass starvation and a huge refugee crisis. We need to be optimistic.
we're
We
gonna be
need
This
to
can't
optimistic.
last forever. This can't go on forever.
It won't. It will get better. We hope that.
Yeah, so the situation is dark. We are being optimistic, and if let's look at what happens in the coming weeks. If the negotiations are successful, if food aid goes in, if their reserves are unfreezed, Nihal ki.
Oh, simply an example could be Bangladesh. Before we were born, we had a similar condition when we were under the Pakistan rule, but we improved. So we can hope similar thing may happen to Afghanistan, that their situation get better.
Oh, this actually reminds me. After our independence war, our liberation war, we actually had a huge famine where a lot of people died. But
অনেক
now
বাজে
look
অবস্থা
at
ছিল।
us.
Yeah,
Now
হ্যাঁ,
look
but
at
I
us.
remember my nanu
We are
telling me that
improving.
one
We
day
are one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
exactly. So we can hope it gets better in Afghanistan So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So in the end, we can say let's hope for
Yeah.
the best. And thanks
It's
to all the
gonna.
people for watching this episode. Ta-da.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you, everybody.